All right, so there is a really simple reason why bad music is bad. Okay, by that I mean there's a ton of music released now on the internet, throughout the world, and there's a really simple and straightforward reason why it sucks. Okay, and that is because it does not prick you or move you emotionally at all. Most music forgets to take that into account. And as a producer, this is something that you need to understand. Lack of emotional direction is killing your productions. And that's the entire purpose of any art, whether it's music or movies or, painting or photography. It's to move you emotionally. It's to make you feel something. It's to transfer an emotion from the artist to the consumer of that art, all right? So good photographs spark you emotionally inside. They make you feel something in terms of whether it's sadness because it's like a graphic war picture and there's so much distress on the person's face inside of the photograph. Or maybe it's a movie that tells like a really bone-chilling story about, how hard it was during the 1960s civil rights movement or during Jim Crow South. It's something that really connects with the viewer emotionally and puts them in a different frame of mind, causes them to feel something emotionally based upon the artwork. And that is your job as a musician and a producer especially, is to create an emotional vibe for your listener. It's as simple but as complicated as that. I'm going to arm you with what's called an emotional framework that you can use when you sit down to create a beat to have a disciplined idea of the exact type of elements that you need to incorporate inside of your music to really move your listener emotionally, okay? And this is going to help you in a number of ways. If you want to sell more music, if you want to get more listeners or more followers or people to purchase your beat licenses or whatever, this is going to help you do that by creating music that sparks an emotion and transfers your feelings in a particular moment into the machine or into your DAW of choice, Logic or Ableton or whatever, and then transfers that emotion into the listener. It's so simple, yet to some people it's so complicated. All right, my name is Rob. If you don't already know, I am the creator of the Gold Pack, which is a step-by-step instructional collection of lessons that are going to teach you things like how to find samples on the internet, what to listen for, how to avoid buying vinyl records and spending tons of money and get your records for free utilizing free platforms like YouTube and through search engines like Google. Teaches you how to chop drum breaks, how to flip samples using the machine platform, everything that you need to know in order to create 90s style golden era hip hop beats on machine. I'm going to be talking about that more a little bit later, so we won't go into detail about that now. Just know that you can get your Gold Pack for $1. That's reduced significantly from the normal price, so go ahead and claim your copy before the price goes back up. So let's get into this emotional framework. Like, what are some of the emotions that you need to be actively transferring and putting into your music? That's, like I said, it's your only job as a producer, is to get your skills on Machine or Logic or Ableton or whatever to the point where, you can take your feelings in the moment. For example, you just got in an argument, with one of your close buddies and you're feeling angry or something like that. You want to be able to take your emotion that you're feeling right now and actively ride with that emotion and put that anger and frustration into the music so that it feels authentic to a listener, so that you can then work with an artist maybe who can tell a story or compose, some sort of visual lyrics around the emotion that you set, that background that you set in your music. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the overall emotions that I'm talking about and how to sort of incorporate those emotions using your machine into your production so that you can, like I said, move people. When most people talk about putting emotions into art and music, they talk about 5 overall emotions. I feel like joy, anger, frustration, sadness, and there's maybe one more. But in my opinion, I like to simplify things because a lot of people list emotions that are somewhat similar. Like frustration, in my opinion, is similar to anger. So I break it down into 3 major emotions. There is joy, happiness, excitement. There is anger, which is frustration, madness, and there is sadness. So joy, anger, sadness. Sadness is like, feeling blue and feeling down and depressed, and that's probably how a lot of things go. If you're a really artistic type person, your moods and things can fluctuate. So how do you actually put that into music, and what are some examples of music that contain these sort of emotions? Okay, so let's just think about that. Joy. What does joy encompass in terms of music? Like, what types of songs contain joy? All right. So what are some of the elements that you might put into a production? A joyful production might be more up tempo, maybe from like 100 plus BPM. A joyful production might contain really clean and pristine sounds and not really dirty, grimy sounds. A joyful production might have very bright and airy sounds within it. So maybe some really bright sounding major chords instead of minor chords that typically have more tension and sound more depressing. For examples of some of these sorts of major chord songs and joyful songs that you can pay attention to, there's a bunch of them linked in the corresponding blog article that I wrote for this. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link for this blog article that's going to have all of the examples in terms of songs that you can listen to sort of base your framework off of are going to be linked in the description. So go ahead and click on those for a ton of examples of maybe like 5 or 6 songs that you can sort of check out to actively start imposing some of these elements into your music. All right. The next example is anger. Okay. And the sort of genre or subgenre of music that defines anger is the trap sound. All right. So what is in trap music? There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of minor chords. There's a lot of chaos going on inside of the music. A lot of interplay between weird, like faded out, really subtle melodies that are going on. Drums. Your brain has a sort of, template that uses like really low sub frequencies in the natural world, really create chaos in your brain, create anger, tension, they get your heart rate up. That's what anger is to me. Anger is sort of creating that adrenaline, that you want to just fight something. You get turned up. It's very, representative of the trap sound in music. So just think about that when anger is most prevalent. You want to think about like trap style music or things like that. Even really hardcore hip hop, right? A lot of anger in that. The last, of course, is sadness. And there's a lot of examples of that in more like faded out music. So in sadness, what I would think about is lower BPM music, minor chords, maybe washed out sounds that sound more heavily reverberated and are pushed in the background, more down tempo, more shit that you want to just like maybe smoothly ride in the car with. It sounds a little bit more mellow. It's very, I guess you could say if any of y'all smoke, it's like smoking music, I guess. That's the most thorough way that I could describe it, all right? All right, so this wouldn't be anything if I didn't give you actionable ways in which you could apply this information that I've just given you to your music on machine. So how do you actually incorporate some of these emotions into your productions? Like, how do you get them going, all right? Exercise really quickly to sort of get you in the mind state that you need to sort of incorporate some of these emotions into your productions on machine and sort of get these emotions out of your head and your body and your feelings and get them into the music. All right. So let's get down to it. Here are the 5 steps. I guess 1, this is step 0. 1, what emotion are you feeling right now? You don't want to start, if you're really feeling down and depressed, you really don't want to create happy sounding music for real. It just is not authentic to how you're feeling. Just like if you were, like a lot of people bring this up in hip hop, if you're writing songs about how much money you have and how, you're living the good life and you're fucking broke, that's not going to be authentic and align. You're not going to be able to tell the actual story of somebody who's really living it. It's not going to feel real. All right. So what emotion are you feeling? Number 1. Number 1, all right, is also what BPM defines that emotion, all right? So if you're feeling angry, all right, so what BPM would match that? Maybe a high up-tempo song, because when you're about to fight, your heart rate starts beating and you want the tempo of an increased heart rate to sort of, create that tension and that feeling of anger. Number 2, so what type of drum pattern correlates with that emotion? So if you're feeling angry, maybe a lot of sub bass, a lot of sub frequencies, like I said, create chaos within your brain. It creates sort of tension. It sort of creates this mode in your brain in which your adrenaline gets pumped up, and you really start to feel up. Maybe if it's a sad beat that you're creating, maybe something down tempo, maybe some really separated kicks and snares, so there's not a lot going on in the drum. So that's something to think about. What sort of drums are going to create that sort of feeling or emotion that I want to convey in my music? Third is what sort of chords or melody are going to evoke that emotion. All right. So if you're feeling sad, minor chords are the place to go. Right. They cause tension. You're a little bit more drawn out, a little bit more, I guess, spaced out sounds. Something that's going to provide the idea that you're sad or you're depressed. The fourth element is, how can I mix this using Maschine in order for it to correlate with my emotion? So if you're feeling sad and depressed, maybe the melodic sounds within the beat need to be more airy. Maybe you use some metaverb or some reverb to really push the sounds back and have it sort of floating in the background. Or maybe some ice effect utilized on some of your sounds could create that sort of airiness and sort of blaseness that sort of corresponds with fear, or not fear, but sadness and frustration. So what sort of instruments are going to evoke the emotion that you're looking for? And a lot of sad songs, you might have maybe a really spaced out, lulled out electric piano sound that you could utilize. That's something to consider. Like maybe an electric guitar, if you're trying to use something angry, something that's heavily distorted, might create some tension within your beats and some frustration. Or a really distorted lead synthesizer can sort of create more aggression in your beats. So thinking about ways in which you can utilize different instruments to create that sound. Bells are something that you can utilize in a song that's more happy or even sad, just depending upon the ways in which you play them. 5 questions, these 5 sort of frameworks are going to serve as your reference point each time you sit down to create a beat. It's not something that you really want to do, logically. It's not like you're going down a checklist and say that. Maybe that's something you can do in the beginning, but you want to get to the point where you're subconsciously heading in that direction and just sort of spilling those emotions in your music in order to create that vibe without having to consciously slow your workflow down and actively try to incorporate some of these things into your music. All right, and finally, I guess the best way in order to get yourself to this point, in order to sort of be able to put down your emotions, and maybe you're feeling sad right now, and that's sort of the focus or the emotional focus that you want to incorporate into your music. The way that you're going to be able to do that is by mastering your Maschine as a tool, so that you can create on Maschine without having to think about actively, I need to press this button, or what do I do next? You want to get to the point where your workflow is fluid and smooth, and from beginning to end, you understand this process and the workflow thoroughly enough so that you know exactly what needs to be done first, second, third, fourth, and so on. All right. If you want to get to that point on Maschine, if you want to get to the point where you can create without having to think about what to do, I've got something awesome for you. All right, and we talked about it at the beginning. This is called the Gold Pack. The Gold Pack is a package of not only instructional video lessons, so video tutorial style lessons, but also samples, okay? Soulful samples that you can chop up and flip on Maschine. Also drum breaks that you can chop and flip into hard-hitting drum grooves, and drum sounds, all on Maschine. So instructional video lessons, soulful samples, drum breaks and drum sounds, and even Maschine project files to help you get to the point with your Maschine workflow that you can understand how to easily and quickly create really golden era and authentic actual hip-hop beats. I'm talking about Ninth Wonder style, Jay Dilla, Pete Rock, DJ Premier style, sample-based hip-hop beats using a soulful, smooth sample and hard-hitting drum groove. So if you're a hip-hop head, this is for you. It's going to help you get to the point on the Maschine platform where you can take whatever emotional state that you're feeling and put it into the music, all right? So we've got video lessons that'll show you how to chop up and flip drum breaks on Maschine, how to layer your drum sounds in order to make really beefy drum breaks, into hard-hitting drum grooves. We'll show you how to choose samples wisely so that you can creatively flip them later on down the line. I'll show you the process that I use to find samples using the internet so that you don't have to spend a ton of money on vinyl records. I'll show you how to get those into Maschine, and I'll document the entire process along the way and give you all the sounds and the files that you need in order to do all of this, all right? So here's the even better part. Typically this Gold Pack is $49. Even at that price, it's a steal. You know, considering that if you just sell one beat license for $50, this thing already pays for itself. However, because you're an active member of this hip hop rally community, because you follow my blog, because you know, fuck with my content, I'm going to hook you up with an extreme discount on this gold pack today. Today you can get your copy of the gold pack for just $1. Seriously, $1, no catch, no strings attached. All you have to do is, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link below in the description. It's going to say get your gold pack, and you're going to be taken to a page where you'll be able to find out a little bit more information about what's inside to see if it's right for you. Enter your name and credit card payment information on the next page so that you can get up and running in just a few minutes. You're going to get access to all 5 of the 25-minute long video lessons. You're going to get all the samples and project files in immediate download. Like I said, everything you need delivered to you in just 5 minutes digitally, okay? So if you're watching this on the blog, just know that there's a link below in the text of the blog article as well, all right? So I appreciate you investing your time with me. For the 5-step reference that we just talked about, those 5 questions that you can utilize to sort of give yourself a framework for your workflow to evoke more emotion in your beat, I want you to click the link below. There's a link to the blog article that outlines this framework and also gives you examples of songs which match these emotions so that you can sort of understand exactly what I'm talking about, all right? So click that below. Also click the subscribe button, because I know that you love this content. I know that you want to continue to get more free, great, intermediate and advanced concepts is going to teach you more about Machine, all right? So I appreciate you watching this video. I will check with you later. Peace.